me feel like a bad girl. Feel like a bad girl.
Good evening, everybody, and it's time for another evening here at the Belong Arena Clash Overwatch 2 night. We are in the playoffs week. It's the first day I'm in a class, and I'm here with John P. in the place to be. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good. Listen, I've got to apologise if I look like absolute death because I got off a flight back from Copenhagen over the weekend, literally about 3 hours ago. And then I got told, hey, George, thanks casting some Overwatch 2 this evening. I was like, yeah, sure, like let's do it. So, but no, nevertheless, I am excited to be here. First actual dabble myself going into Overwatch 2 this season since Overwatch 2's come out. So I'm really looking forward to kicking things off here with you today.
Yeah. It's time. And like we said, we're in the playoffs. It's the first day. We got 6 teams that made it out of our 12-team group stage. Humber Hunters, Bane, the Leicester, Raptors, Cretaceous, Humber Hunters, Spike, Bristol Smugglers, Budgie, Stratford Spartans, Ares, and the Bristol Smugglers, Smokey. As you can see, in the first round, there's only 2 matches because the Humber Hunters, Bane, and Bristol Smugglers, Budgie did so well. They're getting a bye in the first round. So we're going to see those other 2 games tonight, starting tonight here with, if I'm not mistaken, the Spike versus Cretaceous. There's the Leicester Raptors Cretaceous and the Humber Hunter Spike. So that's going to be a really fun matchup. Of course, one of these teams we have already seen before. Like, it's not like, you know, they're strangers to us. That's the Raptors. They're coming in here with Ivy, the J-Blob, Monkman, Wholesome, and Mr. Popo. But the other team is a little bit newer, at least for us on the stream. So it's always something new, always something exciting here at the Belong Arena Clash. And John, they're going to start on Oasis tonight.
Oh, we're heading over to Oasis. What a way to kick things off early on. Just taking a little look across in terms of what heroes we got kicking things off here for the side of this defensive side to kick things off. You've got the likes of the Winston out and about. You've got the Genji. Going to probably be working alongside that Reaper to do and deal with the majority of the damage for his side. You've got the Ana behind as well with that Baptiste. But either way, they're going to head up over towards this high ground. Always important to control that high ground, especially on Oasis.
A little bit more of an unconventional comp coming out here. Not completely weird here coming out on from the side of the Raptors, but a little bit more meta on the other side. They're fully on to this Roadhog, Kiriko, Lucio, Reaper, Sojourn, but they just get absolutely decimated by Mr. Popo dashing through. That's a proper dive execution there with the anti-nade from Flea Shower. Oh man, that name always getting me. And so the Raptors take first fight here in a very convincing fashion. And you can see basically nothing happened. And the big indicator of that is that the highest ult charge that we have is 50% on the Ana Flea Shower. That's nothing.
Yeah, not too much to kick things off early, but Team number 1 on your street definitely holds the upper hand, at least in the early engagements. And I don't know about Mr. Popo, more like Mr. Pow and that Genji. You know how much work Genji can get done, especially when you pair it with the likes of a Reaper on the side of the DPS. It's just such a hard task to try and deal with. But for the side of team number 1, it's just ruthless aggression, and this team number 2, they can't do anything to try and break their way onto point. It's just nothing but a wall of blue. And for the side of team 2, they've just got no answers at the moment. Yeah,
Cretaceous really in a bad spot here at the moment. They really need to find a way. Actually, Spike, sorry. Cretaceous is actually a great spot. Spike's trying to come back in here with, again, it's a very conventional comp that we are seeing in this current meta. But the Genji from Mr. Popo fighting so much value even though the nerfs have come through, that's really impressive.
Impressive indeed, and well, for now, again, Mr. Popo and Wholesome on the Genji and Winston seem to be the ones that are dealing the most damage, and well, although Cleggy is there to eventually take down the Winston, it's just for this red side again, they can't even break out of where their spawn point is at the moment. It's just non-stop aggression. If you look at the ult charges now available as well, 4 out of the 5 for the side of team number 1, but here come this red side on towards the sleep does come through. It's going to be Cleggy who pops the Death Blossom, but, well, Death Blossom, more like we're blossoming you to my death, my friend, as Ivy's there to find too.
A very, very big Bond Chef hook on that Roadhog first on. Very important that Roadhog gets the picks. That's kind of what this entire comp relies on. The problem is that when the entirety of Crustaceous, the Raptors, just jumps in there with the dive, they get so much burst off on multiple members that just one Roadhog that gets a hook every 6 seconds is not going to be able to keep up with that amount of kill count. So unless he's able to also tank a lot of damage as well as sustain, as the rest of their team sustain through it due to the healing of Muj and Flux, then they're just going to lose the overall fight. They lose too many members early, and they can't keep up with the picks. So the switch from Bond Chef going over to the Winston on this particular point, not just because it's open, but also because they might be able to do some more consistent damage and do more kiting as well as initiating with their team, is going to be a very good move here for the side of Spike. Problem is the Crustaceous, they haven't really looked to be slowing down, and there isn't really a reason for them to slow down, so the Winston swap might just not matter. They might just get annoyed a bit more in their backline, especially if they can block off that Baptiste and Ana healing.
Always important to shut down your healers, especially with the likes of an Ana and a Baptiste that can not only heal from close range, but they just snipe the health back onto their teammates when asked to do so. But again, Mr. Popo going to open up things early on here, and a bit of a similar start in this round number 2 to what we saw in round number 1. However, it is going to be the side of the Spikes who seem to have the early advantage, but, well, when you need someone and need to call on someone to do the dirty work, what better hero to call upon than Genji, as the 5 players should almost instantaneously back on board for Popo. And for the side of the Creacious, it looked like it could have been Spike's turn to grab the point and start rallying up the points, but they answer back, and it's all waves of blue.
It's really nice to see as well, like the combination from Wholesome and Mr. Popo. They're really just diving around the map, and because they both don't really have enough damage to instantly finish off a target on their own, the combination, which we used to call a dive, obviously, is the one that's really making it work for them currently. Bond Chef already out of it. Missing that tank in the front line is huge, especially because you're losing so many tools, not just for distraction, but also for blocking out of the bubble. Mr. Popo just gonna clean that up. Going to make sure that they're going to be ready for the next fight, but they might just chase them into spawn. I think at this point they're just ready to do that, especially with that nano boost ready. And the blade for Mr. Popo is really close.
Yeah, no doubt we are going to have the nano popped onto the Genji, and it'll put out the blade and just the absolute death destruction. But so far, Ivy on the back doing a lot of damage, has got the window available to pop up should he want to just offer a little bit more reinforcements to the troop. Does pop it straight through. The Winston on the side of Spike, that's going to be Bond Chef and wanting to try and dive their way in, but they're just going to dive their way into their death and into a wall of pain. As for this side of the Creacious, they smell the blood, they smell the fact that the side of the Spike unfortunately don't seem to be too sharp and dangerous today, and they're taking full advantage of it.
Yeah, nothing really much to be done. Currently, Spike, Humber Hunters, they're just not getting anywhere close. They got a bunch of ultimates already in the bank, but so do still the Leicester Raptors Crustaceous. It's going to be a lookout fest. Everyone's going to press Q, but who's going to get the value?
Here comes the Genji blade, and when you have it in the hands of someone like Mr. Popo, you'd usually think that it would be very destructive indeed, but finally Molly and Cleggy, they're going to do the damage to shut a few of the players down from the side of the Creacious. And for the first time here on Oasis, we see the point go in control of the side of Spike, but for how long though? Oh, popped instantly back through in the hands of Monkman's going to find the first, looking to try and tag up and secure the kill onto the Winston as well. Winston's going to fall. The point ticks on over, and as the overtime ticks its way down, I don't think that the side of the Spike can hold on for too much longer, or can they? Cleggy Death Blossoms out. Mr. Popo's there to shut down too, but not before Moosh can swing his way back on into the point as well. And somehow here, Carsey, the side of the spike, they're still hanging on.
Still hanging on. They had ultimates left in reserve, especially the Death Blossom being really big. Flux still coming back with the Kitsune Rush as well. They're going to flip the point here, and it's not quite over for the Humber Hunter Spike, as we do see the Leicester Raptors having to regroup and re-engage into this without any ultimates remaining. I mean, they have a bunch of time to work with, like over a minute and a half at least, but it's not it's going to be as easy as the last round at least.
Yeah, I mean, you've probably got, what, at least 2, maybe 3 bites at the cherry if you're the side of the Leicester Raptors Creatious to try and get this done and get the point back in your control. And the ult terms of thing, we have got the High Noon out available for cash. You've got obviously the newest hero, or one of the newest heroes, Kariko, got her ult available to burn too. The High Noon does find the kill, and what better person to find than Mr. Popo. Flux doing some damage, showing that Kariko not just great in the healing department, but can pick up a kill or 2 when needed. And I love this so far from the side of the Humber Hunters Spike. They have met the side of the Leicester Raptors head on head. They say, listen, we know the Raptors like to strike and bite, but we believe we can go toe for toe and trade blow for blow, and they're doing just that.
That's going to be a rough one, and Flux has been holding on to this rush forever as well. It's finally going to come to fruition, and with that sound barrier as well as the Primal Rage, that's a lot of sustain and empowering tools they can use to get away with this. But there's another Nano Boost, there's another Primal Rage, and there's an Amplification Matrix, so it's not as easy as just saying the ultimates of Spike gotta win them the fight.
It's gonna be absolutely vital, but here comes Wholesome. Molly is gonna fall, still got that Primal Rage to work with should it need to be popped. I think somehow Mooj manages to get himself out of trouble, but the ult again, the blade in the hands of the Genji is gonna be popped, and well, as 99% ticks across the point for both teams, the overtime creeps on through, and it looks like the point's gonna be stolen out of the grasp of the Humber Hunter Spike's hands, and it's the side of the Leicester Raptors who steal away that number 1.
Map number 1. It is going away to the Leicester Raptors, not in a unexpected turn of events, especially after that first round. But it was at least a lot closer, at least the second round there on the city center, and that actually gives us some promise for the rest of the series. The Roadhog was clearly not really working out for Spike, so now the Humber Hunters are going to try and figure out something different. Winston posed a lot of new avenues for them to explore, a lot more mobility. They could explore more of the rest of the map and the team fights rather than just being stuck behind that Roadhog that's very static. And it also gives away a lot less ult charge. The Roadhog has always been a bullet sponge. You always get so many more DPS ults, so many more tank ults thrown your way. And yeah, the Roadhog can be very valuable if you get those picks consistently, which just wasn't happening. So it's really good that they just swapped off. It wasn't just that the map was different. It's also just that they realized this is not really working against this team, the Leicester Raptors. So when we go to these next ones, that's all we're looking for.
Yeah, I liked that second round out of the side of the Humber Hunter Spike a lot more than round number 1. Like you said, I think that switch from Roadhog onto the Winston just gave them a little bit more control, especially over those team skirmishes and team fights as well in and around the point. And, I have to wait and see now as we head into map number 2, if the side of the Humber Hunter Spike can kick things off. We are going to be heading over to King's Row, if my knowledge is correct. It's been a long day for me, so if I get any maps or call-outs wrong, I'm going to use the old tired eyes as a bit of an excuse this evening. But either way, we are going to kick things off back up into this game. Can the side, though, of Humber Hunter Spike slow down the momentum that is the side of the Leicester Raptors Creatious, or will the Raptors just continue to strike?
Raptors currently on the defense, so they have to be the ones holding off this push. Nice anti-nade coming in from Flea Shower, though, as Wholesome instantly gets that elimination. They do trade it out, though. The Mei has always been a very valuable tool on a map like King's Row with all these smaller corridors, and they do get Mr. Popo as a result. So this fight is not over just yet. Might have lost your tank, but not your fighting power. But there, with Wholesome taking out both the DPS, this looks to be the end of that push, with the steam being completely drawn away.
Early aggression from the side of the Spikes, just halted ever so slightly by the side of the Leicester Raptors. And you mentioned that might been always don't want to say a pocket pick for a few players, but a very favourable one indeed. Of course, the likes of a Moira can work so well. We've known for the early stages of Overwatch 2, the DPS Moira meta does so much damage, as well as keeping your team alive in the most dire spots. But for Bonchef is going to find one. It's going to be Flea Shower who falls, although Monk and Mr. Popo there once again. And well, as the Trans is going to be popped, there's going to be no chance in hell at all that the side of the Spike are going to be able to do anything early on here in this early engagement on King's Row, rather, sorry. And at the moment here, Classy, what is it that the side of the Leicester Raptors are just doing so well to just completely control this point?
This is going to be a look of an attack. They're going through the hotel here, which is a very nice route. But unfortunately, the entire team is ready with that, both of the disruptor shot as well as just with anti-nades and general dive. And we're getting the same thing that we saw in Oasis. There's this coordinated dive that's coming out from Leicester Raptors. It's really hard to stop for the likes of the Humber Hunters. So they need to figure out a way to not just get absolutely decimated as soon as they make a move. And a big part of that's going to be Bonchef using their shield at the right time, because they were not with the team at that point.
Always better to try and fight in numbers if possible. We have got the ult available in the hands of Molly on the Maze should they need it, just to try and slow down the aggressive defense from the side of the Creatious. But they don't even get a chance to. Instantly falls 3 ults online in the hands of the side of the Raptors. That's going to be Anna, Winston, and the Genji available to work with the Trans. Not too long ago popped out of Ivy, already back up to the 55% area. And you look across to the side of the Spike, yes, you've nearly got the Coalesce available for Muji. You know how much damage that can do. Not too long until the Lucio of Flux pops the ult online as well. But you got to think, with 1 minute left, this side here of the Humber Hunter Spike, they've got to get a move on. They've got to go now, and well, they've got to do it within the next sort of 30 odd seconds or so.
50 seconds to go. They got a bunch of ultimates to use. So does the defense, though. Bonchef already going egregiously low, but does manage to stay alive. They do take out Mr. Popo. It's a good start to this fight, with the Coalescence pushing back the back line. It's just the nano boosted Winston that's in the way, and Whole Sam is just going to take out 2 together with Monkman. That's 3. This push looks to be over again already, and with the complete domination of Flea Shower versus Bonchef, this Rodok is once again finding essentially no value.
And that's the pros and cons, right, of having the Moira in the hero comp. That yes, the Coalesce is so strong on the attacking front to do damage and push back that first line of defense for the side of the Creatious, but you can also use the Coalesce obviously as a healing ult these days. A lot of people opt to have the Moira available just for that, and you know, I'd like to have seen them probably play more around their team and opposed to try and force the backline out of the choke point. But just like that, easy as you like for the side of Leicester Raptors. Creatious, a flawless round number 1 here in map 2, and it was absolutely beautiful at times, to say the least. Again though, for the Humber Hunter Spike, things just seem to not be clicking here this evening, Manny, and I don't know why, and what they can do to try and fix it. We saw the hero changes out on Oasis, of course, but when you're playing 2 different game modes, obviously the heroes cater to each game mode specifically.
It's a lot to do. So a lot of the problems that Humber Hunters are having has to do with their it's not an inability, but their struggle with the diversity in terms of where they play on the map, right? So you have a front line, you have a back line, you have some middle ground, and in Overwatch 2, a lot of it has changed in terms of where every hero is supposed to be at what time. And especially with this Winston being in the mix, Winston can be a very annoying hero to just jump on or between you and your backline as the other tank, deny a lot of healing, deny a lot of DPS follow-up, and just be a nuisance without actually taking a lot of damage of their own. So while that Winston of Whole Sam is just jumping on or in between that backline and the front line, the rest of the team of Spike doesn't really they can't really play as a team. They're just sort of being split up in that sense. And until they find a way to either really quickly eliminate the Winston or sort of circumvent that from happening, they're going to be in trouble throughout the entire series, if I'm being honest.
Well, what can the side of the Raptors do now as they head over on the attacking half? And already it's going to be started off with an aggressive dive out of and a Winston to try and gain control of that high ground, make sure that there's no one being a little bit sneaky peeky like. And although the Rhine is out on full force, of course the shield's such a useful bit of utility and arsenal to have on a map like Kings, where it allows you to really lock off any type of choke point and aggressive push. But when you've got someone like Whole Sam who don't give a whole lot of dams and just flies their way through, it's, you know, it's so hard to live with. It really is here, Classy. And I think it looks like we've just got that good old saying of, I think the better team on the day are just having the slight edge here, unfortunately.
It's what it is. And of course, in these first rounds of bracket play, you often will get this dichotomy between teams where just like, you know, you get the number 1 versus the number 6 and the number 2 versus the number 5. This is like one of those more closer matchups because we have the number 1 and 2 being split off. Like they're getting a bye, so we don't have that first versus 6th matchup, but we are still getting the 3rd versus 6th, like the 4th versus the 5th matchup here. So this is the matchup that you on paper look at and you say like, yeah, it makes sense that these two teams are like not as evenly matched as you might hope, like throughout the season as well. You know, they have played each other before. Last time they played, it wasn't a very close affair either. And with the meta changes that have come through, it's just not enough. Like it's not enough for Humber or Hunters to really close that gap so far. Again, the problem is very clear. There's this split between the front and the back line that they don't know how to solve, and that Leicester Raptors are just taking very well advantage of. But solving that problem, it's one of those things where sometimes it just clicks, and it can happen in this series. So if they all of a sudden figure out a way to either disable whole Sam or just, you know, ignore them in some way, shape, or form, it becomes a very different dichotomy. And it's something that has always played Overwatch, or at least teams in Overwatch sometimes, where, you know, it can be a Pharah that's just annoying and you don't know how to deal with the Pharah. Sometimes it's a Winston. There's always like, there can be that one hero that you just have to figure out, how do I deal with this in this situation? And once you do, you take away all their power, like you download the comp, as they call it.
And well, Monkman back onto the familiar Reaper pick and is gonna just dance with the devil ever so slightly, manages to find the first. It's gonna be Bond Chef who eventually falls, and as the Winston agresses through, not gonna find any sort of advantage in terms of picking up the kill. If anything, he just walks his way straight into his death, and Monkman turns and burns and finds the kill eventually anyway. And you know, we was great kill, sorry, out of Ivy for a second. I thought that was Diana finding a sleep out of midair, but of course it was the Widow to find the kill. But it's neat, the revive does come through in the hands of the Mercy, and again, I just think the overall team play here for the side of the Creations is just slightly a level or two above the side of the Spike. But let's not talk down or be too negative about the Spike. We did see that for a while, especially in map number 1, in round number 2, back on Oasis, they can hang with the side of the Creations when they turn blow for blow. I think the biggest thing and the most important thing that we always talk about as casters here, Classy, is that consistency of being able to do it over a longer term basis. And unfortunately, I just think for the Spike, they're not doing just that. And well, for Whole Sam, this is going to be a little bit of a firing line for Fluxy and Molly to find himself walk into, and with a Winston and Reaper there to dynamic duo you do not want to walk your way on into. And yes, the Orisa can be quite strong, but not when you're facing the full 5 of the Raptors. They hunt in packs, they hunt successfully. And with 2 minutes left for the side of the Spike, they're really going to start to struggle to find things and ways that we could see the Spike getting themselves back into the series.
And after 2 minutes, still barely any progress made on this card. Like 34 meters is sort of automatically goes by just walking out of spawn. So they need to get something done in there. Is a Death Blossom coming in from Monkman? Almost. Nope, they got pushed away by the Orisa. Still trying to do it in this hallway, and no one can take them out. The healing is just too much. Beautiful nade as well from Flea Shower. Keep their Reaper alive, and it's going to be another team kill just right there. Nothing to be done. And now Ivy is just setting up for the Garage into spawn. Gets another double kill most likely. There we go. Not even taken out. One of the most suicidal ults in the game. Not even able to be stopped here by the Humber Hunters. They need to find something. And currently they haven't done anything. Like switching around roles is not the solution, it seems, that they were trying to hope it would be.
Well, when you've got a Pharah on the other team literally above your spawn point in your own base, just popping the ult for fun and picking up double kills left, right, and center, odds on is you're not having the best of times in that match 3 ults back online and available for the side though now of the Raptors. Just the 2 in the hands of the Spike hole. Sam, the Primal Rage, comes through, swinging his arms about like he just don't care, knocking people off the map for fun. By the looks of it, Ivy's there to find the kill. It's going to be Bonchef who inevitably falls. And one player who I've been so impressed with today is the person on your screen right now, Monkman. Although he does eventually fall to the Lucio of Mooj, you cannot count out the amount of damage that the Reaper has done. He's a damage and DPS for a reason, right? And he's living up to expectations and surpassing those expectations. Ivy already got the ult back online with the Pharaoh. I thought for a second there he was going to see it pop, looking to reposition and probably try and save it to help the fight out at a little bit of a later date. And even now, look, for example, you've got 3 players trying to fight just the 1 tank of the Raptors and nothing just being successful at all. The ult is inevitably used in the hands of the Pharaoh. It's going to be Ivy to find a kill onto Morian, although he falls from the hands of Flux. It is absolutely dire spots that the side of the Spike find themselves in, and with just a few minuscule seconds left, that is going to complete round number 1 for us as a solid hold from the Raptors.
Raptors showing up big here again. I mean, it's not surprising anymore at this stage. Like, we've seen them do really well. And there are some small things. There's small, like, beams of light, little bit of hope, some silver lining coming out here from the Humber Hunters. But, you know, it's just not quite coming together again. And it's these small things. It's like, it's macro. Like, it feels like a really big thing. And, like, it feels like they're not really getting anywhere. But it's like this small little thing that they're just not as adept at as a unit just yet. And maybe with some more time together could give them that. Of course, we're in the playoffs, so if they lose this map, then it's kind of over for at least this stint. But if they keep on practicing together, you know, there's a really good chance that all of a sudden, like a month, maybe a week, depends, maybe even 2 days, all of a sudden they can win these maps. Because there's these small things that happen in each fight that the clutch potential is just not enough, or the small macro plays are just no small. The macro plays aren't quite there. It's not even the individual skill of the players. That's not even the problem. It's just the execution of team versus team.
It's the finer details, right? And we speak about it from the lowest levels of Overwatch to the highest, you know, of highs all the way up to the Overwatch League, for example. That, you know, it's the finer details that can really change the tides and cost or win you a game. And at the moment, it just seems like the polished article is that of the Raptors just a little bit more than the Spike, unfortunately, at the moment. Of course, not too much needed here for the side of the Raptors to secure the 3-0, and immediately they've just charged their way straight through and forced the side of the Spike instantly back. It's
again a disconnect. You see the Torbjorn be all the way up into their spawn, the rest of the team holding far back, and when the cart only has this short of a distance to go, you want to fight as far forward as possible. It's like a disconnect between the team again, and with the victory coming through for the Raptors, that is, I mean, it's just a very quick round, as we saw in King's Row as well. Like, it's basically one attack and you're kind of done. But yeah. The problem is just that it's the same. It's sort of the same story. It's the same trend that keeps repeating. They're not doing the same thing as a team. There's like a lot of these individual plays going on, these individual decisions. It almost looks like they're not communicating about things sometimes. And if the Humber Hunters are, you know, if they're able to solve that, where they're communicating and they have a plan as a team, and, you know, they execute strategies together, all of a sudden it changes. Like, there's the famous saying, it's a mistake to do a lot of things like separate from each other, but it's always good if you do a thing together, even if it's an idiotic thing. As long as you do it together, you're always going to be better as a unit for it. Even if you lose a fight, as long as you fought together, you had a plan together, you did it together, it's better than just running in solo and trying to make something work in the chaos.
Yeah, well, let's see how that plays out and plays into the bracket that we've got going on at the moment. We saw how things started off at the start of the day. Of course, we are going to see the Leicester Raptors Creations advance through to play against the Humber Hunters. Bone, if I'm correct, if I can read that correctly.
It's Bane, actually.
Bane. So there's a reason why I should wear my glasses, all right? There's a reason why my mum's been screaming at me for my appalling eyesight. But yeah, well, can the Humber Hunters be the bane of existence for the Leicester Raptors Creations and avenge their sister or brother team of the Humber Hunters Spike? And well, what a derby showdown that would have been, right? If you had the Humber Hunters Spike and Humber Hunters Bane play off against each other in the later stages of the competition, but it's not meant to be. And of course, we are now just waiting to see who books their spot against the Bristol Smugglers Budgie. I'm renaming them, all right? They're now called the Bristol Budgie Smugglers, all right? We know what they were doing with their team name.
What?
But...
I think those names are kind of set in stone. But to see who's going to go up against them, of course, we're going to go on to the next series. That will indeed be what you just saw on the bracket. And we're going to be there after a couple of minutes. Take a very short break. We come back for Smokey versus Aries.
Me feel like a bad girl. Feel like a
Welcome back, everyone. It's still week 1, day 1 of the playoffs, and we have match number 2 coming at you in the first round. It is going to be the Bristol Smugglers Smoky versus Stratford Spartans Aries. And both these teams, of course, made it out of the group stage. They're here now to try and figure out who's going to go up against the Bristol Smugglers Budgie. Bristol Smugglers, 2 teams in the playoffs, as well as the Humber Hunters did. Humber Hunters already lost 1. Let's see if the Bristol Smugglers are going to follow suit, whether they're going to go up against each other in the semifinals. We start out with the first map in a little bit. And John, we're still here with you. I'm still here. We know why, because of course we have more games to cast. But what do you think about this matchup? I mean, we're looking at these 2 teams. We just saw Humber Hunters lose a team. Do you think Bristol's going to follow suit?
Well, listen, look, I don't want to pick favourites, but if I'm rooting for my hometown heroes, Stratford is the closest team to me. I've recently just moved near the area, and I frequently head over to the Stratford Belong Arena. Very, very nice staff there, by the way, so shout out to them. If you're in Stratford, go check the Stratford Arena out. It's amazing. So if I was to happen to pick someone that I would want to see win this game, it would be them, just off pure emotional attachment, you could say. Sure. But nevertheless, I would love the derby line and the local clash between the 2 Bristol sides as well. That'd be pretty damn awesome, to say the least, wouldn't it, if you saw 2 teams in the same arena, in the same server playing in the finals. But nevertheless, though, let's head our way in to our map number 1 here between these 2 sides, and already you can see the Farah going to town.
Farah is already out from Faye, hitting quite a few shots, already 50% up into that ultimate, and it is a very damaging one. Gets the first elimination on the Peaches, exactly where you want it, as the Spurs gets taken out on the front line. Younger Queen, not the most traditional tank anymore in the current meta, and as you can see, it is not really working out, but it's a slugfest, back and forth. Both teams getting elimination after elimination, and with this chaotic map of City Center, it might very well just keep dragging out. But there's the final elimination from Jaru onto Meryl Strife. And we know that the Kiriko can do a lot of damage, especially Reaper, a very easy target with the limited mobility that he has once he's used his Wraith form. But still, winning that 1v1, not the easiest thing in the world.
Not the easiest indeed, but one thing that's, don't want to say the easiest to do, is just pop your way up into the air and open up the almighty Farah from the heavens. But either way, this has sort of got a similar affair to what we saw in map number 1, right, on Oasis back in the first series, where one side gets early control, the other team tries to break on their way in. But the only difference is, it looks like for our side, team number 2, the side of Bristol, and it looks like they just seem to be fighting fire with fire here, and well, they're not getting burnt just yet.
No, the point flipping this early is very unusual for a map like this, where it's very stallable. Like, you can kind of keep fighting on this point and constantly keep the pressure up, which is exactly what you're going to be seeing right now for the Bristol Smugglers. Going to be the whole hog from the Spurs to try and disperse the enemy team, try and get them out of the way, get them a little bit of space. But you can see it constantly, that stall. They can walk around this little pagoda in the middle. They just don't have to worry about anything. Constantly, the percentage is ticking up.
It's ticking up slowly but surely, and that's all that matters at the end of the day in a game of Overwatch. And, well, the ticker now hitting at the 50% mark relatively soon as well. I say that, just might bit the bullet a little bit early, but Fate going to go back up into the air, of course, working alongside the Mercy to keep themselves alive. The ult's going to be popped. That's going to be 2 for the price of none. Can they find a third? I think they are trying to look for the Winston, who's relatively low. The Death Blossom does come through, but Meryl Strife's going to be dropped almost instantaneously. That's going to be the Roadhog of Despair. Faye working again with the Roadhog to do the damage. The ticker's going to go over. The point switched, and we have Stratford back in control.
Stratford in control, 35% and ticking, and now it's going to be all up to them to just try and stall it all the way to 100%. They can lose a fight, but then they have to come in relatively quickly. It's always going to be a little bit dodgy, a little bit chaotic. And with that Mercy and that Hog Gold, they should be able to hold on for at least one fight.
At least one fight indeed. They've now going to have the ult popped out on the Lucio. That's just going to speed things up and make life a little bit more difficult for the side of Stratford. You've got Disperse, I believe, has got the ult available in the hands of the Roadhog, like mentioned. Tread got the ult on the Mercy. Farah got hers back online also. So for the side of Stratford, they're building up that ult economy relatively well. Nearly 5 out of 5 to work with. They should be looking at least 4 by the time the side of Bristol work their way back over towards the point. And this could be the start of something pretty damn good here for the side of Stratford. They've got complete control. It looks like they've got the ults to work with. Can they deal, though, with the tricky customers that are the side of Bristol?
The Bristol is coming into this point right now, trying to get a little bit of damage done, but there's the whole Hawk trying to push at least the Winston away. Now he's taking a lot of damage here. We'll be able to push back, at least to deny the Sombra a little bit of entry, but that EMP is ready, and there they go. 3 at least hit. There we go. Peaches and Rep awfully low. Can't be finished off, though. Be a little bit more to finish off this fight, though. Just the EMP wasn't enough. Do find the eliminations in the end. It looks like with the percentage ticking up and the numbers in favor here of Stratford, they are going to walk away with point A, but it's still not over, as they do still trade back and forth. That's what this point is so good at. The fight's taking place everywhere. The stalling is going on constantly, and it's not as easy as just saying, oh, they've won this fight, because they're still going to chase down these last kills. Both teams do, because they're still fighting at these very even numbers. Low numbers, but even nonetheless. And you can see it going back and forth once again.
I think though it is gonna be
100.
I think I don't know. Does that qualify as a
it's
bit of a C9?
it's not quite a C9.
It's like a C4.5 maybe.
I mean, I'm not gonna go into the whole definition of a C9 again. I think we've heard it enough over the last few years. I wouldn't qualify this as a real one, but it's definitely one that it's possible to count it as one if you really wanted to. That being said, that was round 1. Going over to the Stratford Spartans. So currently your favorites winning. But Bristol looking awfully close there. And especially, it's a hard point to judge of, like what the real power level of these teams is, because you get to fight so all over the map and you have that little structure in the middle that just blocks off a lot of sightlines and fighting. But currently there is a hope still left. It's not a complete dominance, as what you like to see over a series like this. In the playoffs, a simple 3-0 sweep, not what you like to see.
I mean, some people like the fast-paced and furious games. Some of us like a closer affair. Us as casters, we do like things a little bit more competitive, to say the least. But you've got to say, that first round was a lot more competitive than round number 1 back in our first series of the day. So, looks like a little bit more probably of a closer affair between these two sides. So, Moon Sombra on the Sombra, they do a decent amount of damage. Faye does find one. It's going to be Meryl Strike forward, and Faye makes it a second. Can they find the third? Looking for the Kuriko. It's going to be Peaches who falls. So, early aggression, early dominance here for the side of Stratford.
Stratford currently looking to be, doing very well to start off with. Not as chaotic as the fight on City Center started off with. More indicative as well of this map. That's what you really got to keep in mind. It's not just that they're able to win this fight more cleanly, it's that the map allows them to. Not a lot of stalling, not a lot of spreading out of the fight on this particular one. Jaru stretches out a little bit too far forward, will be taken out. So will Faye and their ultimate, but will taking still one down, and Tread can't get the res off. It looks to be a very convincing fight here coming out from the Bristol Smugglers to go onto the points and look to be taking their percentage.
Well, first little tick of positivity fruit for the side of Bristol. Now, the question is, can they hold on to the aggression from the side of Stratford and hold down the fort strong? Done a great job of doing it so far. I'm just looking across the board in terms of what ults we got up and coming. The Primal Rage not too far off. We've got the Tactical Visor available for Meryl Strive. Now, Arcadia has the ult to work with too. However, on the other side of things, though, Stratford, they're pretty good for their own. Here comes the ult out of the Roadhog. Going to do so much damage here, forcing the players back. Jaru's going to find 2 off the back of that help as well. And, well, just when you thought the side of Bristol might have a few things steering in their direction, it is going to be Stratford who just stormed their way back onto point, almost flipped the switch, and the tick of the point over instantaneously. You blink and you miss it. They're up to 50%.
50%. That's what it's going to keep on continuing. Stratford now back in control. A lot of ultimates online for both teams. Really can come down to the execution of both. And the rush is going to start it off here for Peaches.
Here comes the aggression. Faye pops the ult. That's going to be 2. The Tactical Visor back into play. It's going to be Tread and Faye who fall. But Faye's done a great job of finding three of their own, and now can Meryl try and drop the Roadhog. The tank does just about stay alive. Catch the uppercut, Mr. Moonsong, because you're not singing a sweet old tune this evening. As finally, for the side of Bristol, they do manage to get the point back under their control. But has the damage been done? 77% of the tick up for the side of Stratford. One more clean break or so, and you'd like to think that that's them creeping over the line here in map number 1. And here come the side of Stratford. The first 2 engagements do go in their way. And Faye, how much damage have they done on the Farah? Almost fantastically beautiful so far. Can Despair, though, help out the squad? Been a little bit quiet on this Roadhog so far. But when someone needs to step up, can the Roadhog do just that? Here comes the side, though, of Bristol trying to work their way back in. But Faye has the ult back online, looking to try and find a little bit of damage and some engagements. But they do manage to grab the point.
Lights out there for Bristol Smugglers, literally, because all their ultimates are gone as well. Still going to be another barrage and the whole hawk from Disperse as well. So very hard to push on through this without getting completely blasted. Jaru once again taking a risky position on the Kiriko, getting taken out early. But the concussion blast as well as the barrage immediately denying Nawe anything. Faye does get taken down by Meryl Strife as a result, but with Disperse hitting another shot, hitting another hook, and then getting the whole hog out, they might be able to push everyone off the point or at least get a few more eliminations. Boonsong tries to get something done, but it's Peaches that gets taken out by Disperse. Once again, another hook, finding their targets. That's really what's the difference between what we saw in the last series. The Hog is actually hitting hooks, or gets to get the picks with the hook, and that's when this comp actually starts to work out.
Yeah, hook does get missed there, though. How is that going to be? Cossie is not, because unfortunately, Mr. Soldier 76, you're a pretty decent damage output, but you can be a little bit squishy at times, can't survive in the 5v1 on point. First map goes to the side of Stratford.
Stratford Spartans, Ares coming in here hot and strong. It's not a done deal. They did have a bit of back and forth throughout the maps of an Oasis. But the Bristol Smugglers, once again, it's control, right? It's super chaotic, and it felt like in the chaos they found more value than in the organized fights. That being said, Stratford Spartans also played into the chaos a little bit. They took some risks. They're playing a little bit, overzealous at times, as we call that. So there might be some changes on the couple coming maps where they're just going to look better. But the same thing can still be said for the Smugglers. It's not complete outplay here for the side of the Stratford Spartans. As we go into the next map, which is going to be our hybrid map, to see if there's going to be any changes either on which heroes everyone's playing or potentially what heroes they're playing in general. I mean, there's some role swaps that come through sometimes. And this time, that might also be the case, as we do see Jaru switching over to the Reaper here, so no longer on support. The Spurs will still be on the tank. It's going to be Faye instead on the Ana this time. Shred on the Brigitte. That's what they're running out of spawn with. Not really a big chance that they're going to change anything. Brigitte, not the strongest hero currently in the meta, so I'm a bit surprised that it's coming out. But Stratford Spartans have always been a confident team. Picking out the Zarya after she's been nerfed. Also, again, a strong choice, bold choice. We'll see if it works out for them. As we do see the side of the Smugglers currently coming in with the Bastion Reinhardt. Very strong to just attack this point, burst open a defense if you wanted to. They're going to indeed commit to it.
Well, let's see if it pays out or not. Jaru. Oh, Jaru, so sneaky. Immediately tries to target the Mercy, trying to get the healer down and out almost instantaneously. Definitely is something you want to try and do, but for Moonsong, they are, obviously you mentioned playing Zarya, not too meta as of late, but unfortunately for the side of the attacking team, it's going to be Moonsong and Jaru met there with the aggression to find the first few, and this is just nothing but a wave of blue in our kill feed.
Another wave of blue, not necessarily, unexpected, of course, but there is a little bit of surprise coming out of this, because with all the bursts that's coming out from the attack heroes, you should be able to at least get a couple of targets down. It's not happening at the moment. A nice sleep dart on the tank of Navi once again. Gonna put a bit of a wrench in their plans to try and contest this. Very aggressive position for Jaru. Jaru, of course, a very confident player, so not at all surprised. We saw the Kiriko already, another on the Reaper, crying out loud, but a good pick on Tread from Arcadia. might break this open.
And again, it's the Pharah who seems to be the difference maker. It was, I believe, Faye on the Pharah last time. They're not going to be picking it up this time. They're going to be playing the Ana on the opposite team, but the DPS has really been the probably difference maker here across the two sides. When one side seems to pop off, there's not much to answer back from the opponents, but for the side of Stratford, they do hold strong as of now. 2 minutes left and not even a single first tick of the third on the point for the side of Bristol. How long before we start to see a little bit of desperation kick in here, Classy?
I don't know if desperation would be the right word. Like sometimes we talk a little bit about like keys or the desperation swaps or something like that. I think it's a little bit too early to talk about that. I think with the roster they currently got going, there's no need for it just yet, especially with all their ultimates. But after this next fight, if they use all those ultimates, they need to find value. If they don't find value, then it might be time for some swaps, for some Symmetra shenanigans, maybe some May play. There's a lot of different options they have there, honestly. And the swap over to the Winston from Nawe is very logical, if you think about it. Does very well against Asaria usually. Just has to be a little bit careful about the Reaper.
Ults available for 2 of the 3 players. The Death Blossom is going to be popped. It's Jaru who finds 2, but it's going to be Arcadia who opens up with a barrage of her own. And although with 1 minute 10 seconds left, the side of Bristol is very much stuck on inside of their base. And I can't see them breaking out or breaking this line of defense anytime soon. They're still pushed all the way up to the first choke point here on the side of Stratford. Finally, the Winston is going to be brought into play by Noor. Does manage to push one back, and is that first tick and the point going to successfully come through with 40 seconds to spare? I think they might have just pulled it out.
And Mike will be able to catch this first point, but there's a good Graviton Flux that's coming in here for the Spurs, and with the Nano Boost on the Zarya as well. Not the highest of charge, but should be able to get at least 1 or 2 more kills together with Jaru. They find the Soldier. They might also find the Mercy and the Pharah. And this defense looks to be holding after 66.6% did get capped. They need a little bit more in order to cap the full points. 20 seconds left.
Not a lot of time to work with if you're the side of Bristol. You put yourself, your back's firm, shut to the wall, and you try to push off and gain any momentum, but every time you do so, it's just a haymaker and blow into the side from Stratford. But here come the side of Bristol, dispersed though, gonna be dispensing a few shots into the bodies of the lonely players from Bristol, and just like that, the team kill comes through, and round number 1 goes in favor of Stratford.
Route number 1 for Stratford, stopping the defense from the attack from even getting the first point. 76.7% though is not nothing. And with King's Row being a holdable map, this could very well go into a draw, or even well, not a draw anymore, but a victory for the Bristol Smugglers. That being said, it is also a map that often goes all the way into the last point, goes into overtime rounds a lot. So a double first point hold is very unheard of. It is just because this map's so familiar to everybody, both on attack and on defense. There's always something you can do, and the attack will usually be able to break through eventually, especially because of the distance of the respawns, the speed of respawns, as well as just the availability of specific geographical points on this map. Like, it's the high ground that you can play around with, the statue, the hotel. Like, there's so many different angles that you can take that eventually you'll find these random picks, or almost random picks, just these pick-offs that you need to overwhelm the enemy eventually with the respawn advantage.
And sometimes you can just muscle your way onto the point, right? And we see
it's kind of how it works. Like, we see, this is one of the maps where we see the classic just keep diving on them strategy, where you'll pick a high mobility comp, and eventually you'll be able to sort of outnumber the enemy team because of the amount of respawns you get, unless you keep getting team wiped without getting anything in return. That's the only way that strat doesn't work out.
Well, let's see if Bristol can hang on to the point, or if the hustle and bustle for the side of Stratford is a little bit more than the side of Bristol can chew. Merrill, though, doing a great job to find the first 2. The revive instantly popped, though, from the Mercy. This is a big old engagement. It's going to be Disperse who wins. It's a tank for tank, and the Rhine comes out on top. Now the Reaper can really go to work, call his name, and he should take people to the grave. as already the first tick, 33% up on the board for the side of Stratford. You blink and you miss it. This could be almost done and dusted instantly here, Classy.
Yep, and it looks like it's going to be just a wrecking ball of Nawe in the way. This can't touch in time. That is the point ticking over. And the Stratford Spartans Aries taking a 2-0 lead in the series, match point to go into the semifinals.
Oh, well then. They've got what, 2, if not 3 lives left to try and get over the stumbling block. Can they do it? You if you're a betting man, which I hate to admit at times, I most definitely am, you'd be putting your money on Stratford to get the job done. But let's not count out the side of Bristol. And I think one thing looking at this game, it looks like one side is playing with their sort of their tails up, and the other is playing with their tails between their legs. And I think at the moment that's probably the best sort of way I could describe this game, that you've got the side of Stratford who are just coming out with so much confidence. No matter what situation they find themselves in, they back themselves to find the problem and the solution to any questions that the side of Bristol are throwing their way. And for the side of Bristol, they just cannot catch a break at them. And the constant aggression, the constant holds on choke points from the side of Stratford is being a real tough task here for this Bristol side to hold on to.
Yeah, Bristol currently looking in a very rough position. They need to win this map and then 2 more to drag out this series from out the fire that's currently lit up under them. But if they have a fire lit under them, they might be playing even more aggressive. Technically, they almost have nothing to lose anymore because, if they lose, they're out. But it's one of those where if you already feel like you lost sometimes, you might be playing better with your backs against the wall, as they say. So I really hope that that's something that we're going to get out of Bristol at the moment. We start to run into Dorado here. Going to be the same team on the defense, same team on the offense. Be the first attack coming out here for the Bristol Smugglers. Smokey. Arcadia on the Widowmaker could get a few good shots off. I mean, it's a long sightline map. It's very much a Widowmaker-centric map sometimes. So if they can get a couple of picks, that could just open up everything.
Yeah, and I think with Overwatch 2 coming out, I think Widow's been probably put back into the meta a little bit more than she was back on Overwatch 1, but especially on a map like this, the longer sight lines, if you can charge up that rifle and click heads, you're going to do nothing but have a success story on your hands. But so far, this is looking a little bit better for the side of Bristol. They've come out, it's almost like they're not giving too much respect to the side of Stratford, and they've already pushed that payload halfway up into the first checkpoint.
First checkpoint not going to be reached just yet, but they are at least starting to make some progress here, taking out some key players. Faye and Tread going awfully low, being taken out. We still have Jaro in the way, who gets 1 pick, but is awfully low with the Wraith form. Might take out 1 more. Nope, they're going to be not taking anybody with them anymore. And while there's still someone staying on the point, I think it's dispersed just around there on the Ana. They'll be able to continue. Meanwhile, Arcadia did actually get taken out on the front line. That's not good. Missing out your Widowmaker on a push like this, but they might be able to push it in before anyone gets back. So it looks like Stratford is ready to re-engage.
Well, here comes that re-engagement. Jaru gonna be the first line of defense on the Reaper, joined by Faye on the Diva. So much damage done. It's gonna be Jaru who goes hunting here, and I think the story of the day has been those key DPS battles, right, between the likes of the Cassidy and the Reaper, or the Genji, or whatever it is people are bringing to the equation. It seems like so far Reaper definitely coming out on top, and so is Jaru. But it's going to be the primal range available now for Nor. You've got the Widowmaker ult nearly up and running for Arcadia. For Moonsong, got to try and keep himself alive here and help his squad out. He's going to be dispersed though. Pop onto Red. Zen doing a little bit of dirty work, to say the least. The ult from the Lucio has been burnt down to 1%, but that ult now in the hands of Widow is very much available.
Very little use of the Suzu there from Peaches, but we'll keep Nawe alive. Nawe getting a fair bit of value from that Winston, pushing back a lot of players. But unfortunately, if Nawe pushes them out of sight lines, they can't be eliminated by the rest of their team. But the juggling was going in the wrong direction, as they say. Faye gets the mech though. Self-destruct will get Reb as a result. And Reb needs to be careful. I think they've got like 5 deaths on their round so far compared to the rest of their team. Beautiful Death Blossom will not get eaten anything because there's no Matrix in the way. Meryl Streep and Nawe will fall to be Arcadia with the Widow trying to do a close range battle against the Reaper. But most of the time you'll just lose that. It's hard to hit that head at that close range. If you think You know, if that head is so big, it's going to be a different thing.
You know, the Death Blossom pop there is great for many reasons. Not okay, does it? It doesn't get, well, I think got 1 out of the 5 players that were there, right? But what it does is it forces those players off the payload, off the point. It doesn't allow them to advance it any further, and complete control goes back into the hands of Stratford. And well, if you cast your mind back to about 3.5 minutes ago, that payload was pretty much exactly where it is now. So it's been solid defense since then, and then on out for the side of Stratford. Jaru is going to find his doppelganger Arcadia on the Reaper on the other side. Meryl Strike's going to fall, unfortunately, to disperse. There's Zen doing so much damage. They've got the trans to work with as well. For a second, I thought the trans was going to be popped if the self-destruct did come through, but disperse, he's going hunting. He finds the kill. 5 seconds left. The side of Bristol in absolute disarray, and it's going to be Stratford to probably put themselves on to match point.
Well, they're already on match point. This might just be the completion of that match point in 78.67 meters. But they'll have to push the car to get there. It's once again a good defense, and Dorado is one of those maps that is again very holdable. It's very tricky to get through that first choke. Sometimes they got through there quite okay. Did Bristol Smugglers, but it is a problem that we are not getting the finish on some targets when they're close to that endpoint. We saw that Primal Rage coming out from Nawi. That was one of the things we highlighted as well. We're saying like, well, you know, if you're bashing them away, but you're bashing them away from your team, they can't really get taken out unless you finish the job yourself. And Navi wasn't quite able to do that. So in the meantime, the rest of the team was just kind of waiting till they saw targets to shoot. They didn't see any. And then it means the Primal Rage, I would say, goes to waste. But if they can't push in the cart in that same amount of time, they can't punch their ticket to point B, then yeah, the Primal Rage just is a time waster rather than anything else.
Well, 78.66 meters is all that separates Stratford and their spot in the next stage of this playoffs. And for the side of Bristol, they know that the task is daunting. The world is very much on their back, and their back is very much firmly against these beautiful coloured walls here on Dorado. But we've seen crazy things happen. It's Overwatch at the end of the day. Anything is most definitely possible. But for Stratford, surely they've got a foot, even maybe a hand or two, into that next stage of the playoffs.
Good positioning from Nabe on the high ground. Immediately jumps to the Zenyatta. They don't get healed. They're going to get taken out. Dispersed, gone from the map. That's how you play Winston on Dorado. But gets charged almost off the map. Yep, we'll get charged off the map. Actually, no, takes Faye with them. Faye actually being taken out. Probably a good Suzu coming out there from Peaches. And so far, this defense is looking really good for Bristol.
Yeah, where's this Bristol side been throughout the whole series, right? Looks like the communication and everything seems to have just fallen and clicked into place at the moment, but then again, still a long old time to go. 3 minutes 14 to be precise, and already that payload over halfway towards the required destination, up to the 50-meter mark. And this is where Stratford are so good. As soon as they do an ounce, a tad of damage, they just storm their way forward. Jaru, Faye, Moonsong, it's a party on Dorado. Get the Sambas out, because we're heading to the next stage of the playoffs.
Oh, not just yet, Arca. I will say Arcadia maybe could do something here on the Reaper. It's close. Not gonna happen. We gotta see in these the Stratford Spartans. Ares take away the victory here, the 3-0. Bristol loses a team, but they've got one left. And they've got another team to get through, the Stratford Spartan, another Bristol squad to try and defeat if they want to get to the finals. So we're gonna have the semifinals decided now. This is the playoff bracket that we're looking at right now. It's gonna be the Humber Hunters Bane versus the Leicester Raptors Cretaceous, who we saw earlier, and the Bristol Smugglers Budgie versus the Stratford Spartans Ares, who we saw just now take the victory over the other Bristol team. Unfortunately, Bristol, again, left with one team. So are the Humber Hunters, but that doesn't mean that the remaining teams are going to fall as easily, as we're going to see later this week on Wednesday, John. They're going to go to the semifinals. Hopefully we get to see both of those matches, and they're going to be good ones.
Yep, it should be. Listen, if these games are anything to go by, we have got 4 teams left in this competition that certainly know how to play a good old amount of Overwatch 2, and I'm really, really excited to see where things go from there. But yeah, nevertheless, it's safe to say it just looks like probably fairly enough that the 2 better sides on the day very much just won.
Yeah, better teams so far, just being very, very ahead of the other. This is kind of how it worked. We saw a lot of full holds, a lot of dominant fights coming out, a lot of even role swaps, which usually indicates that teams are very confident in like we're just going to win this, so we're just going to like try out a couple of new things, people playing different heroes, have some fun with it. And that sometimes it can be sort of a sign of overconfidence or underestimating your opponent. But sometimes it can also just be a little bit of practice, a little bit of banter, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And I think these teams have a lot of fun playing together and also playing versus each other. So it's a good thing. It's the fun thing about Belong arenas. You see all these different arena teams coming. Like you said, the arena next to you, really fun, nice staff. All the arenas around the UK have a really nice staff. We've some arenas in the US as well now. So there is a lot to gain from signing up for something in these Belong Arena clashes, whether it's Overwatch or one of the other titles. Definitely give it a go if you're in the neighborhood.
Well, there's a reason why they have your esports journey starts here plastered all over the arena walls, because for these players, their esports journeys might very much start here in this season's arena clash. We've got 4 teams left for you in the Overwatch competition. Make sure you get the dates in your calendar and the notifications turned very, very much on, because you are not going to want to miss the bangers of the final stages of the playoffs that we've got here for Overwatch 2. But for myself and Classy, it's been an absolute pleasure with you. To think that we was meant to be doing this all season long before I wormed my way onto Valorant, all right? I'm sorry, forgive me. But no, we hope you guys have enjoyed the show. Stay safe, stay playing Overwatch 2, because guess what? It's a fun damn game. And we'll see you guys next time.